Hello, dear passengers. This is your captain speaking, and we are about to take off for another episode of Adventulina. Hello, welcome back to another episode of your favorite travel podcast, Adventulina. Or maybe you haven't even heard about it, but that's okay. Give us a chance to become your favorite. And by us, I literally have no idea who I'm talking about. It's just me. Anyway, believe it or not, guys, it's already November. I personally have no idea how that happened. Literally, yesterday was still January 2018, maybe, whatever. What I mean is that time freaking flies, and I'm not happy about it. Feels like it was yesterday when I was in New Jersey spending the holidays with my friends there, and I came back to San Francisco ready with my travel and my concert list, ready to kick off the year, and here we are, getting ready to take the fluffy soft PJs out of the closet. Here we are being buried with Christmas commercials already. Not that I watch any freaking television, but still. And here we are, thinking of what we're going to buy for our loved ones. Like it or not, most holiday decorations are already taking over every city on this planet. I don't know how you feel about that, guys, but I kinda hate it. And let me explain before you judge me. Seeing decorated trees and playing Christmas songs before December 1st should be illegal. I repeat, illegal. Come on, still October and November, and you go to the store and holiday deals are already everywhere. Stop it. Like, especially here in San Francisco, October and the first part of November are literally like the warmest time of the year sometimes. I don't want to think about Christmas while I'm enjoying the sun and I can finally walk around with a t-shirt during the day. It takes away from my summer mood because yes, October and part of November is still summer in San Francisco. I have no idea why people feel obligated to start decorating for Christmas the day after Halloween, but please stop, just cut it off. Let's give a little bit of time between both, just a little bit. And let's also remember there is Thanksgiving somewhere in between. Let's acknowledge that. I would say the earliest you should be allowed to decorate for Christmas is the day after Thanksgiving, period. In other words, let me still enjoy the summer. Let me also enjoy a little bit of fall before we jump right into Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You. Okay, annoying enough already. I love that song, by the way, but I only play it while I'm decorating for Christmas, which we just established is not gonna happen until December. And I only play it on the actual Christmas Eve day. And I guess the day after, so 3 days per year I get to enjoy that jam. And after that, see you next year. It kind of became a tradition for me to listen to that song on those 3 days specifically in the year. Since I was in high school, I would start decorating my room and I would play this song on my PC 15, 20, 30 times in a row, depending on, how much time I need to put all the decorations on. I know it's really overplayed, but I overplay it for a few days and then I forget about it until next December. Because yes, I decorate in December, sue me. I don't want to see Christmas decorations in November, then get excited and completely ignore it and hate it during the actual holiday because that's what happens. You just get tired of it. You get tired of looking at it for such a long time. It's a month and a half away, for God's sake. Let's have it later, not that earlier before Christmas, so we can appreciate it and not get tired of it. Especially here when big part of November is pretty much nice sunny days, great for outdoor events. Trust me, the last thing I want to see when I'm in the park on my blanket enjoying the sun is Christmas decoration. Again, don't get me wrong, I'm all about Christmas. I love this time of the year, but it's not this time of the year yet. It's not enough that we decorate palm trees here in California, but we have to start doing it in the middle of summer. Enough. And even today, I was running some errands and I was around Union Square, which is a popular place in San Francisco downtown, and also a location for one of the big Christmas trees and the ice rink every year. So I was walking around, going to a few stores, and I was literally turning my head around, refusing to take a look at the tree. I honestly do it every year. Union Square is known for the Christmas tree donated by Macy's right across, and people always gather there for photos, ice skating, just to enjoy some, Christmas activities. It's the Christmas spot in San Francisco, if I can say that. And for me, to see it in November while I'm walking around with a t-shirt, by the way, it literally was like 65 today, no thanks. I'm not taking a look at that tree. I'm not taking a look at the decoration. I'm completely ignoring everything, and I'm avoiding eye contact until it's December, when it's dark, when it's cold, and when Christmas is actually soon. Okay, seriously, enough bitching. I guess I just take Christmas very seriously and I don't want anything to spoil those magical few days around it. But back to traveling. Since we are approaching the end of the year, the insane pressure inside of me is screaming, bucket, bucket. And I'm trying to resist and trying, or maybe I'm not. But it's always stronger than me, you know what I mean? So since I came back from Vegas a few weeks ago, I've been thinking, where do I want to go next? And that's not because I don't have ideas. Holy shit, my goddamn bucket list is longer than... Anyway, I do have ideas. The problem is how to fit these ideas into the reality. Meaning I have to still consider circumstances, time of the year, dates, weather, money, blah blah. So my initial plan was to go to Alaska in December. Shame on me. I have never been to Alaska before. I do know a ton about the state though and different locations there, as back in Bulgaria, as I've mentioned, I used to work for an agency that sends university students to the States for a work and travel program, and most of our students would go to Alaska because we had tons of employers to offer them jobs at, and also it was a great place to save money and to see some beautiful nature. So for 5 years at my last job in Bulgaria, I heard and learned so much about Alaska, so many stories and recommendations. I saw so many happy people who started loving nature because of that destination that I've always known I want to see it myself one day, and I will. And up until a few weeks ago, I thought this one day was closer. I've been having Alaska in my mind since last year, and my initial plan was to go there in November, meaning now. But a little before I was about to do my research and start booking, my close friends, same family in New Jersey, invited me to their baby shower, and I of course said hell yeah and postponed Alaska. I was thinking of going there in December, as I said, but then I talked to a friend who had just came back and she literally told me don't do it. I mean, I'm not a moron, or I hope I'm not. I knew it was going to be cold as shit, but she literally convinced me not to go, as it can get down to minus 30, exactly where I wanted to go. Technically, I probably can handle this kind of temperature for a few days, or maybe I'm completely insane and I will literally pass out before I even exit the airport. But yeah, it sounded like a warning, and I decided to listen to her. Also, my plan was to get a car and drive around so I can see as much as I can. And with the snow situation that December usually brings, this wouldn't have been such a good idea, especially for a solo trip. So that plan went to hell, basically, despite all the excitement and the list that I made with things I want to see and do. But hey, keeping it for next year when I want to make sure I go during, some normal temperature. But of course my hurt travels heart couldn't take the pain of canceling plans, so I had to make another plan immediately. You know how when you are upset you immediately want to cheer yourself up with something, either a meal or a drink or buying something? Well, for me that's the Google search bar and the flights option. Oh, hold on. I already said no Christmas yet. So here I was, being upset about my Alaska plan going to hell, sitting in front of my computer and thinking of where should I go next? Cause, God forbid, I stay home and skip a month without a trip. No. So I went to the complete opposite. Canceling a trip because of the cold made me want to go somewhere not that cold. That makes zero sense, but hear me out. After a short Googling, I narrowed down the list to a couple of places, and then I picked Texas. Yep, San Antonio, here I am. I mean, not yet, in a couple of weeks, but still. I'm excited. I've never been to Texas, so this will be interesting. A little after I booked my San Antonio trip, the destiny smiled at me and brought another opportunity in my lap. Turned out I had to go to Dallas, Texas for work, and I was like, whoa, I've never been to Texas before, and now I get to go twice for less than a month in two different cities? Sign me up! So your girl is going to Dallas next week and then flying to New Jersey for the baby shower I mentioned, then coming back to San Francisco for a couple of weeks and a concert I'm going to attend. Aerosmith. Sing with me, sing for the ears, sing for all the traveling in the ear. That was really, really bad. Anyway, I was thinking next episode we will definitely talk about New Year, new me kind of bullshit, and New Year's resolutions. But for today, I say let's do some Q&A since it's been a few weeks since I've done it. I also noticed more and more concert questions are coming, which I love. And I also love how people are asking everything adventure related. Because after all, traveling is not the only adventure you can get yourself into. Yeah, it's the best one, but even when you're home in the city, town, or wherever you live, you can still find something adventurous to do. I always like to say the time when you're not traveling outside of your town, of your area, state, country, whatever, use this time to explore the place you live at and what's around it. A lot of people are so busy dreaming about strange destinations and planning vacations abroad that they forget exploring home is also a thing. And I bet even if you're sick and tired of the place you live at, there's gotta be something cool to experience. Maybe not just travel-wise, but still a memory maker, like I love calling it. Maybe a concert, a festival, an exhibition. Usually once we start focusing on bucket lists and constantly thinking of traveling, we do forget to be interested in the place we live at. So I encourage you to fill your time at home while not only thinking of your future adventures, but also researching what's going on around you and how you can spend your time while waiting for your next trip. So I want to go back to what I mentioned. More people start asking about adventures in general, not just travel related. I bet it's because people see on Instagram how often I go to concerts, which, as I've mentioned, is my second favorite thing after traveling. Or people maybe get the vibe of the made-up name Adventulina. I don't know. And with that said, let's kick it off with some questions you guys asked your Captain Adventulina. I decided to kind of filter out those on the topic. What's the most adventurous thing you have ever done? Okay. I gotta say the most adventurous thing I've ever done was to move to this country. I mean, let's be honest, moving abroad is a hard shit to top off when it comes to adventures. I guess a long-term adventures is the correct term. When it comes to other types of adventures, I guess regular types of adventures, I gotta say the most adventurous thing I've ever done. Okay, what I'm going to say as an example would probably be stupid for some people because we're all different and we all find different things adventurous, meaning that for me, a bungee jump, for example, can be super adventurous, while for someone else it can be whatever, nothing special. You know what I mean? So one of the most adventurous things I've done, and please remember, I am afraid of heights, afraid to the point that sometimes I can't even get on a ladder and take a look of what's under me, although I keep doing things that bring me out of my comfort zone and I keep forcing myself to experience all kinds of things like roller coasters, observation decks, and similar shit. So one of the most adventurous things I've done was a ride on top of the Stratosphere Hotel in Las Vegas, like 11 years ago. On top of this tower, part of the Stratosphere Hotel, now just called Strat, there are 3 rides, or maybe now there are more. And when I say 3 rides, I want to be clear. 2 of them are a little too much for people like me. Okay, this is already shaping up to be a pretty long answer, but I'm just gonna go for it. So one of the rides is super cool, very bearable for people like me. It's a small tower with seats, and you get on it, and they pretty much shoot you super fast without any warning. It's perfect for someone like me, except for the sudden start that almost gives you a heart attack because you're not hanging from anywhere and you're not at the edge of anything, I would say. You're pretty much safe and it's not that scary. The view is beautiful and it's the highest spot in Las Vegas. However, the other two rides are not that pleasant, I would say. Or at least they were not for me. The second one was a small ride that goes over the edge of the building. Thank God the scariest part was mostly for the people in the front seat, and losers like me in the back didn't experience the whole thing. So that one I survived. But the third one, oh, the third one. Sometimes I think about this ride and I'm like, why did I do that to myself? Well, my answer is simple. As I always say, you only live once. This for sure was one of the scariest and most adventurous things in my life so far. This ride only has 10 seats and they are paired, so 5 double seats. So this shit starts spinning and the ride goes over the edge of the building. I repeat, over the edge. Imagine a regular swing ride at a county fair, if you wish, something similar. So this shit spins around and it's taking you out of the roof. On top of that, the seats are being pulled back, so you're kind of hanging there on the level like 108, 109 floor or something. If I remember correctly, that was the exact floor. So you're basically there praying for your life to not end at this very moment. I think it's also important to say that there were only 9 people for this run, so one of us had to be by themselves. And of course, guess who that loser was? Yes, it was me. Everyone else was paired into holding hands together, laughing together, and I was left alone feeling like I was gonna slip out of this shit. And I vividly remember when we were sitting in the seats and the person from the staff was, walking around securing our belts. He comes and he puts this tiny belt and clipped it close. And I was like, oh, is that all that is going to hold me? And he's like, yeah. This moment, I kind of wanted to get off. I'm not gonna lie. But I also was 21. I didn't want to look like a wuss. And I was trying to play cool. So I remained seated. Little did I know that a few moments later, the whole building was going to find out what a major wuss I was. So here we are, seated on the ride, starting to move towards the edge of this more than 1,100 feet building, about 340 meters for my metric system pals out there. And I started to feel that there was no floor under my feet anymore, so I immediately started to freak out. Of course, I had no one next to me to kind of grab or lean on or cry on or squeeze or scream, whatever. I had to do it all by myself. My friends, on the other hand, across from me, in the other seat, they were having the best time. They were cracking up on my screams and Bulgarian curses as I was, going to pass out any moment. And it sounds funny now, but back then I was literally terrified. Like, I literally thought I was gonna shit my pants. And the worst part was that if I did shit my pants, God help the people who are walking around this building with shit falling down from like 340 meters. That was disgusting. So all of a sudden, it wasn't enough that I was screaming bloody murder already, but the goddamn seat started pulling back, literally leaving us to hang over the Las Vegas Strip. I was like, okay, that's it. This is how it ends, At least, I guess, an epic spot, Las Vegas. I probably closed my eyes a few times as I literally couldn't handle the view. That's how terrified I was. Honestly, this freaking belt that was holding me I'm quoting that, you just cannot see me, didn't really feel like it was doing anything, because when you're being pulled back and your body starts sliding on the seat, this shit feels like nothing. Nothing, 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 like literally nothing. So there I was screaming and praying to God in both languages I knew back then to just keep me alive, and for this stupid belt to be able to handle my weight, which was a little more at the end of the summer after 4 months of eating pizza and stuff like that. Anyway, my friends literally couldn't breathe from laughing at me, as I said. I remember our friends who went on those rides the previous evening, they were recording us. Jesus, on one of those DSLR cameras, like I said, 11 years ago. So they took a video of us. And this video was posted on Facebook, and every year I get to remind myself of that shit because of the Facebook memories that we all receive. And I get to remind myself of how I screamed like I was being murdered while my friends were cracking up. And yeah, some of you will be, why the hell did you do that to yourself? If you had fear of heights, you know, or you felt uncomfortable, and that's a fair question. Well, back then, I was younger and I didn't think much of doing things like that. I didn't overthink that much. I also was not prepared and didn't have time to think. Some of our friends just suggested going there and we agreed right away. We didn't know what it was, and even when we got there, it didn't look that scary from outside. Let's also consider the fact that back then we didn't really do researches before going somewhere. We didn't read reviews, we didn't check videos and photos, and yeah, we were not prepared in a good way, and that's how we ended up doing stuff we probably couldn't have done if it wasn't spontaneous. I think for me sometimes it works better if it's spontaneous, because if I know in advance and it's something that is going to make me uncomfortable or scared, I will keep thinking about it until it happens. In other words, I'll have more time to overthink and to consider all the things that can go wrong. When you do spontaneous shit, you don't have time to think about it. You don't have time to think about all the complications. It's pretty much now or never. And if you're like me, you're more likely to say yes to things you usually wouldn't say yes to. So an example of an adventurous thing I did, which was spontaneous, was the helicopter ride, actually. The helicopter ride over the Grand Canyon, that's right. This was for sure one of my most memorable travel experiences in general. Absolutely amazing and totally worth it. It wasn't on my original plan. I didn't even know they offered it. But the guy came to me and asked me if I wanted to do it, and I had 2 minutes to decide. I was like, what the hell? And I signed up. Turned out to be the highlight of my whole trip and one of the best moments of my whole summer and year. I'm sure if I knew in advance, I was going to keep thinking about my fear of heights and the fact that I had never been on a helicopter before, and I was gonna end up having major long anxiety the whole time until the actual experience. Which happened with another adventurous thing I have done. Jesus, the answer is really getting out of control. Anyway, I went scuba diving last year in Hawaii for my birthday. As I've mentioned before, I have this tradition for the last 7 or 8 years to do something I've never done before on my birthday. So last year, I decided to book scuba diving as we were going to Hawaii, and I had never done it before. I booked maybe a month in advance, and all I was doing until the actual day of the scuba diving was to think about it and to think if I was going to be able to do it. I kept thinking, and I was a little anxious before even going to Hawaii. And once we arrived there, I kind of was waiting for it to be over so I could enjoy the rest of my vacation without stressing out about, something that was supposed to be enjoyable. I gotta say, I guess deep inside I knew scuba diving is not my thing. Definitely. I'm glad I did it, but I almost didn't do it, and let me tell you why. All the time thinking prior to it, and all the time I was feeling nervous, hit me even more when we were at the beach getting the equipment from the instructors. It was a beginner group, nothing super complicated, but I was super anxious, and I kind of couldn't wait to get over with it. First, let me tell you, for those of you who haven't done it, this goddamn oxygen tank that they put on your back is heavy as shit. They made me sit and put it on my back, and I couldn't even get up. And I'm usually stronger. It was literally pulling me back. That's how heavy it was. Really, really uncomfortable to carry, at least until you get to the water. It was easier once inside, but I learned how to swim when I was very young, and I really enjoyed it. I'm a good swimmer, especially, swimming underwater. So I already have this habit and instinct to, hold my breath while underwater. And here I am, about to scuba dive for the first time, and I'm being told to breathe under freaking water. You know what I mean? How the hell am I supposed to do that? When all I have been doing my whole life was, to hold my breath when I'm underwater. It was so weird. It was so weird. I really couldn't make myself feeling comfortable doing it. They first made us only dip our faces so we can get used to the feeling and, try to breathe without going out. I swear I tried for a few seconds, but I kept having this feeling that I was going to drown. It was just this unusual feeling of having your mouth open underwater and expecting to, choke on water. Other people, though, were digging it and started to feel more comfortable, which made me feel even like a bigger loser. Even a couple of teenagers were ready to go to the bottom. Then I remember the instructors told us it's time to go to the bottom. So they were, going to take each of us individually to the reef down there. And I was so not ready. I was kind of hoping for something to happen. So they canceled the whole thing. What a loser. So they started taking one person at a time to the bottom to see the reef. And I was so terrified, constantly thinking about the possibility of drowning. And I really couldn't hide it anymore. I told one of the instructors, look, I don't think I can do it. I'm sorry. I was just being honest, and I didn't want to pretend I was okay or that I was, macho enough to go for it. I was literally so scared and so surprised how much more complicated it was than I ever thought. Not to freak out anyone who's planning on going scuba diving, but it's just me overthinking. That's what it is. I was like, fuck it, I don't care that I paid. It's not about the money. So just because I paid, what, I have to force myself to do something I'm generally scared of? This ain't high school anymore. I don't need to prove anything to anyone. Money doesn't matter either. It wasn't my thing, and that's all. The instructor was very sweet. She saw how nervous I was, and she told me, okay, no problem. You don't have to do it if you don't feel comfortable. Do you want to at least, stick around and stay in the water until everyone else is done? Or you want me to take you to the shore right now? I didn't want to waste her time, and I told her I was gonna wait with them. And I think that was brilliant from her side, because the longer I stayed there, the more people got out after the diving, and I started seeing how excited they were and how it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. They were almost finishing the group, and there were a couple of people left, and somehow I got this anger inside of me. I was like, wait, am I going to be the biggest wuss here? I knew I was going to regret not even trying if I went out. I was going to be disappointed in myself, even more for not trying than for not doing it. At least I wanted to, try and see that I really can't, instead of wondering if it was really as hard as I thought or I was freaking myself out. So everyone else took their turn, and it was only me left. The other instructor came to me and asked me if I was ready. I told him not really, but I'll do it. And I'm sure he knew I wasn't going to have the best time of my life. But he was very sweet too and very understanding. He reminded me one more time about the signs I should make with my hands in case I want to go out and stuff like that. Basically, he grabs your arms and takes you down to the bottom of the reef. You don't even need to know how to swim. You just follow his body by letting him pull you. That's all you do. So we got ready and dived. And I remember my eyes were going to literally pop out of my face as he was pulling me towards the reef. I just remember how freaked out I was to breathe underwater and to also see the bubbles around me. It's just messed up because you feel like like you're going to inhale water, you know? So we were already at the reef, 15 feet depth or something like this, and we took a look, spotted some fish, and all of a sudden, I wasn't breathing normally anymore. I guess I realized where I was, and that I cannot just, pull my head out like in a pool or something. And I just freaked out. I made a sign to get out, and he immediately took me out. It took a few seconds, but despite being able to breathe during them, I'm pretty sure I held my breath just like an instinct. I felt like I was going to drown. It wasn't great at all. We were up and I was able to take a breath. You moron. You could have taken a breath down there as well. You just had to do it with the oxygen tank, but whatever. So I kind of gained a little confidence and I didn't want to leave right away. So the instructor, I guess, tried to trick me as if I was a kid. And he said, I saw some cool fish down there. Do you want to go and check it out? Do you want to take another look? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. The second dive was a little better. I was able to control my breath while realizing I can't survive underwater. And yeah, we took another look and went up. The whole thing was, I would say, less than 5 minutes, I think. But the waiting and the overthinking before it felt like hours. And honestly, I didn't need more than those 5 minutes because this was perfect. I did it. I saw it's not for me. And honestly, the day after, we went to Hanuma Bay on Oahu in Hawaii. And I did the snorkeling, which was absolutely amazing and anxiety free. I was so much more impressed. And don't get me wrong, I know they're both different, but for me, not having full success with the scuba diving, I found myself to really enjoy the snorkeling. It was so much cheaper, so much more enjoyable, at least for me. And on top of that, I saw so much more than what I saw at the scuba diving. Again, I only spent like 5 minutes, but for 5 minutes in Hanuma Bay, snorkeling, I literally saw hundreds of different fish. So snorkeling felt so great. I literally didn't get my face out for, I don't know, sometimes 2-3 minutes, and I was having a blast. So I definitely recommend it, especially if you're on Oahu. Hanuma Bay is an amazing place to do that. So yeah, I do believe doing things like scuba diving or something more extreme spontaneously works better. You don't have time to think, you just do it. The more time until the actual experience, the bigger the chance to freak yourself out with some scenarios that only happen in your head. Of course, if you're not like me, if you're a normal person, you wouldn't have to go through that shit at all. Well, the question really got into me. Damn. But moral of the story, it's okay if you don't want to do something. There's a difference between challenging yourself and going out of your comfort zone and putting yourself into a pure horror that traumatizes you. Also, it's okay that the older you get, the more things you refuse to do. Your 20s are really about not thinking and doing lots of things, but it's not embarrassing to be a little older and to think twice before doing something. It's called adulthood, and it's normal. That's how it works. I've caught myself in refusing to do things that for sure in my early 20s I was going to be, hell yeah, let's do it twice. But I also know back in my early 20s, I cared a lot more to be cool and liked, and just because I was going to do it doesn't mean I wanted to do it. I would have done it to be part of the group and not to be the pussy of the group, I guess. And that's not right. Thank God. I guess I matured a little bit and realized it's okay to say no to things that you don't want to do. There are plenty of experiences and activities out there, and you gotta find the ones that bring you joy, not anxiety. You no longer have to prove yourself to anyone. You don't have to play cool. So don't do it just to say you did it. That's not the right reason. I love fighting my fears. I do it almost on every trip I go. But with things like, going to the 117th floor while being afraid of heights, this is kind of my limit. I think it's pretty clear at this point that there will be no other questions answered for this episode. Damn it, I took forever, but it really is a very long answer. What was the question again? Oh yeah, What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done? But what should I say, guys? Experiences are a huge part of traveling. We don't just want to go see, we also want to do something. I hope you stay determined to try more new things while exploring and also experiment only with things that are not putting your life or mental health in danger. And with that said, I think we can wrap up this episode and, ignore the Christmas decoration for a couple of more weeks until it's officially December and we are ready to dive into the whole holiday magic. So stay tuned for the next episode, guys, and thank you so much for sending questions in, for rating the podcast, for listening. Appreciate it all. So I'm going to pack for Dallas in New Jersey now, and I will see you for the next episode, which is going to land shortly. Goodbye.